Live football. Arsenal-Everton at 1, Sky Sports 1. Liverpool-Man City at 3:30, also Sky Sports 1. And Stoke-Leicester and Ipswich-Hull at 1:30, Sky Sports 2.
This is Sky Sports Live.
Brands Hatch, the home of British motorsport and the host venue for the final round of A1GP. After 18 hard-fought battles, the championship has come down to the final race day, and the pressure is on. Switzerland could have wrapped things up in Shanghai, but they didn't. New Zealand have been given a second chance to steal the title.
This is disaster for New Zealand. It's great news for Switzerland, though.
Drive without seconds, work your way around there. Michael Schumacher won a race with only fifth gear.
New Zealand finishes fourth. That guy's a hero. He drove without a second gear and he still finished fifth. And they keep the championship alive, going to the final round at Brands Hatch.
For the final race weekend of the season, A1GP is back on British soil at Brands Hatch. Today, it's qualifying. Well, last year the title had already been taken by the time the championship pitted here. This time it's still up for grabs. So much to look forward to today on the track. No wonder the fans have turned out to see what should be a fantastic afternoon of motorsport. Despite the ominous forecast, the sun is apparently shining. Qualifying due to get underway shortly here. Two teams who have everything to gain and everything to lose this weekend, Switzerland and New Zealand, will want nothing less than pole.
Pretty confident, 29 points lead. Johnny needs really to win both races, and I need to really have a lot of bad luck. I'm sure we can, or I'm pretty sure we should bring it over the line.
Everyone in A1 Team New Zealand is very positive minded about this weekend. We've worked so hard to be second in the championship so far, and to take the win overall would be a dream come true for all of us.
So it is a battle between Switzerland and New Zealand for the championship. The odds stacked in Switzerland's favour. They have a 29-point lead in the standings over their closest rivals, while the battle rages for the top spot. France, Great Britain, South Africa will also contest second and third here this weekend. An intriguing weekend ahead. Here to enjoy it with me, three times World Touring Car Champion Andy Priaulx. Andy, thanks for joining us. How fitting is it that after such a competitive campaign, it all ends here with a title decider at Brands?
It just goes to show how competitive the championship is now. To have two guys fighting head to head throughout the whole season, up until the last race, 8 drivers could win the championship. The level of this series is really top draw now, and it's great to have it here at Brands.
Just to keep you up to date, so we'll have a driver call at the bottom of the screen that you'll be able to see, just to bring you up to date with who's driving for who. It also, of course, means that whoever wins the series this weekend has a new champion, Switzerland or New Zealand. How worthy are either winner?
Well, they're both very worthy. I mean, they've won the same amount of races. They've had a little bit of good luck and bad luck during the season, but to be there at the end with a chance to win for both New Zealand, and obviously Switzerland are in the favourite, in the hot seat really. New Zealand have to do a lot, but it's very, very impressive that they both come here with such a good chance to win. Switzerland know they're the favourites, but it's all about dealing with the pressure of that, isn't it, for Neil Yarni? Sure, I mean, you can see in his interview there, he is confident, and to be honest, he really, as far as I'm concerned, he's in such a great position. He really can only lose the championship, and to be honest, I think that the chances for New Zealand to actually win it is going to need something very, very special. How important is qualifying in A1GP, and perhaps more specifically qualifying in A1GP at Brands Hatch when there's so much riding on this weekend? We're lucky with Brands Hatch, there is some good overtaking opportunities, but at this level of motorsport, qualifying just starts the weekend off as you need it to be. It really is the most important part of the weekend. You still have to finish the races and you can have mechanical problems, but it's particularly for the sprint race. It's a 20-minute race. You need to qualify well in the first 2 qualifying sessions. It's going to be crucial for Switzerland to do a good job.
Okay, Andy, thanks for the moment. The first of the qualifying sessions due to get underway shortly. Tony Jardine is amongst the action down in the pits for us. So, Tony, so much riding on this race weekend. What's the atmosphere like down in the pits?
Well, as you'd expect, Georgia, it's pretty electric and nobody's taking any chances whatsoever. I'm actually sitting on the wheel of Team GBR A1GP car of Robbie Kerr. Because it's their home race, they're actually allowed to have a spare car and it's on standby. Robbie Kerr, of course, has said he wants to win both the races. He had that breakthrough last year, the first one to win his home race. The other one is Switzerland. Now, they're trying to keep very calm, but Neil Jani has pointed out to us, a friend of his, a Super G skier, who only needed 1 point going into the finale, and he actually got 0 points, got it all wrong, and he said, look, it's not done until it's done. So Switzerland are a little bit nervous.
Now, there has been something of a war of words going on at the moment, and certainly has been going on ahead of this race weekend between GBR and between Team Ireland. Is it gamesmanship, as Katie Clements has been calling it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's quite genuine, because Mark Gallagher said to us from Team Ireland that Team GBR are not the benchmark anymore. The benchmark really are New Zealand and Switzerland, and they're stating the fact that Team GBR have had a very, very difficult season indeed. I can understand Katie Clements taking exception to that, but Ireland want to do well, so GBR, so they're going to be having their own battle.
Okay, Tony, thanks very much. Tony will be keeping you right up to date with any developments from qualifying this afternoon. Drivers gearing up for qualifying sessions. They'll all be looking to put in quick times around a circuit that many know well. That won't make it any less challenging, as John Watson and Lee McKenzie explain.
Two of the masters of Brands Hatch, past and present, took a walk round the roller coaster track.
Robbie, of all the corners on all the race tracks of the world, one puts more trepidation into every driver, and it's this corner, Paddock Hill Bend.
It's absolutely awesome corner with the approach, rising up the hill, braking is not clear exactly where you want to brake, and then the turning is blind. You can't see the apex, you don't know where you're going. The road's dropping away the whole time. You just got to go for it.
Now, I know you're going to have 2 wheels off the racetrack on the exit of the corner. Can you get away with that every lap?
Sometimes you can get away with it, not every lap though, because looking down there, it looks fairly flat, but it's not. The curb has got a nice ridge in it, and these cars are so low to the ground, we just bottom out straight away.
Could be walking down any leafy country lane in the centre of Kent, but in fact, we've just come out of Westfield Bend, down the dip. Now we're climbing the hill up to Sheen Curve, which of course we can't even see from here.
It's a fantastic corner, and it's fantastic being out on the back Grand Prix half of the circuit, going through the woods. It's great as a driver, you get the real sensation of speed, and of course it's all blind as well. There's not one corner really that you can see the apex clearly. You're coming up to Sheen, well, where do you brake? Where do you turn in? It's just so blind, and so as a driver you just got to get so used to it. It's just get into the rhythm, carrying the speed, and really just going for it here, because there's so much time to gain and lose.
You've got a whole load of trees up there. Which one is the tree you use for your entry point into Sheen Curve?
I'm not going to give that one away. I know where I look, but I'm not going to give too many points away for people listening back home who want to come here and try and beat me.
Brands Hatch Grand Prix track is motor racing heaven. 9 corners and 3.7 kilometres in length. And Paddock Hill Bend is the first of the major corners here at Brands Hatch. The rise and the fall, and then the rise up into Druids. It'll catch up the curless or the sloppy, so keep it neat and tidy around the inside, then let it release on the exit, and then the drop down to Graham Hill Bend, an inappropriate corner for the 2-time world champion. But bottom straight now, accelerating up to 4th gear, 5th gear, and into Surtees, a chance to pass down the inside, but you must be alongside the car to get the job done. Climb out of Surtees and onto the fastest part of Brands Hatch circuit, the Hawthorne Straight, the drop down, the compression on the bottom of the hill, then the rise up into Hawthorne Bend. 5th gear, point the car to the apex, then hard on the throttle and run the car out to the side of the racetrack. Back down to 4th gear for Westfield Bend. Watch for the bumps on the outside, they can set the car off. Down the hill into Dingledell, then up the other side into Sheen Curve. The blind approach. You aim the car, hope you get it right, and then all of a sudden, Sterling's corner, 3rd gear. Again, respect this corner. I know from bitter experience, it can bite. Then the final straight down to Clark Curve. And this, for me, the most exciting corner on the racetrack. You really can float the car out to the exit, hard on the throttle, and another lap's completed.
Luckily, we're in the company of a driver who's won once or twice around this circuit. Andy, Brands is a circuit steeped in history, as we well know. How unforgiving is it, though?
It's very unforgiving. It's not a modern Grand Prix circuit with lots of runoff, so the slightest mistake and you're paying a big price. I mean, you just need to look at Paddock Hill Bend. You arrive at that corner, it's like falling off the end of the world, and there's no room for error. And around the back, it's a mini Nürburgring. It's a superb driver's circuit.
A1GP drivers weren't able to road test this circuit until Friday afternoon, around about that time in the first practice session. Is it the sort of circuit that takes a while to get to know, a while to figure out?
You have to build your confidence up here, and as I say, it takes no prisoners. The guys with experience like Robbie who've raced here in Formula 3 are going to be quick straight out of the box. But by the end of the weekend, you know, everybody's up to speed. At this level, all the drivers are good, and it's a track that, as I say, is very unforgiving, and you've got to treat it with respect.
Good job. It's a circuit that Robbie Kerr knows well and likes a lot. So Brands Hatch all set up for the final qualifying sessions of the season. When we come back, all eyes will be on Neil Yarney and Johnny Reid as they look to impress ahead of race day.
To be crowned champion would mean a lot to us, definitely also to me, myself. It's what we worked all season long very hard for, and that's what we are here for.
I'd be ecstatic and over the moon, obviously, so it's a nice thought. But as for A1 Team New Zealand, it would mean the world to us to be crowned champions.
He wins here at Brands Hatch.
It's great to come through out of the Grand Prix loop onto the Indy loop and see all the red, white and blue in the crowd. It's fantastic, and I think any driver with the home support like that, it gives everyone a little boost and a little push on to try and push that a little bit harder for the nation.
Welcome back to Brands Hatch for the final race weekend of the season, while the battle rages for the championship. Robbie Kerr in the pit garage at the moment, just gearing up for qualifying. Will look to bag third in the title race, or perhaps even second by putting in a good performance here. He has, of course, done it before. Well, the first of today's 4 qualifying sessions has just about to get underway. The fastest lap time from this qualifying session, just as a reminder for you, in session 2 are going to decide the grid for the sprint race. Sessions 3 and 4 will determine the lineup for the feature race. As we've known, plenty riding on the outcome of this race weekend. Okay, let's join our commentary team of John Watson and Ben Edwards, who'll guide you through the first session.
Indeed, well, we'll just have to see. A lot of support, of course, for Robbie Kerr here today. Massive amount of support. They're all hoping he's going to do the business. But what about Team New Zealand? New Zealand battling to try and still win this championship. It's a very tall order. Johnny Reid here needs to basically win both races, get fastest lap in both races, and then hope that Switzerland doesn't manage to finish 7th or higher in either race.
I think New Zealand have been very impressed by their rookie, Chris van der Drift. They also know that Johnny Reid, the incumbent driver, has got an enormous task. Really, it's not even in his own control. All he can do is do the best for the team, that is win both the events, get fastest lap in both the events, but he has got no control over what happens to Switzerland, and the prospect of Switzerland not picking up points in either event on Sunday is extremely unlikely.
So everybody just waiting now for the start of this session to get underway. We are slightly delayed. You can see the 2 cars that clashed actually as they came across the line. Didn't actually see what happened. I just heard the bang, and then they were both in the barrier. So 2 cars in that last race being cleared away. Both drivers were okay, and then we'll be able to get this session underway. There is Michael Ammermuller, suffering a bit of a bad cold this weekend. He was actually sent home early by the team yesterday to go and have a little think about the track, but he wasn't feeling too good, so he's feeling a little better today, and hopefully things will improve for him. Let's get back down to the pits with Lee.
Olivia, nice to see you back at A1GP, Brands Hatch. We've even got some sunshine for you in Great Britain. You've got Frank in the car now. How do you think that's going to help the team?
Oh, well, for sure. I think first of all the weather is very important for us here to have a dry one. For Frank, I think he's a quite new series, but I think he learned a lot in Shanghai, and now I think he's really prepared for the fight we have now for qualifying. But for sure, he's a hand for the team. I mean, he has a lot of experience in F1. For sure, he's different, but it's nice to see him on the car and, of course, to perform well this weekend.
And that's the key, isn't it? The championship is still very much alive from your point of view. Third, second, realistically, what can you aim for?
Well, I mean, we're looking for the best. Second and third position is still possible again, but also behind is quite close. We need to keep the podium, I think, for this year, and to prepare next year a bit differently to be sure we try to beat the championship.
Is this a circuit you've ever raced on?
No, I know the circuit, but I never race here. It's maybe something I missed, but no.
Okay, well, enjoy your day here in Brands Hatch. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Former Grand Prix driver Olivier Panis, and great to see him here with Team France. And that battle for third, and indeed even for second, it isn't impossible at all for France to take second place and actually overhaul New Zealand, even though New Zealand have that outside chance of winning the title. But really, I think realistically it's the battle for third between France and Great Britain, and South Africa also with an outside chance of joining in.
Yes, but really with Robbie Kerr on form at Great Britain, a racetrack he knows better than any racetrack anywhere in the world, and unless again misfortune, something out of the control of the team or the driver, you have to think that does give Great Britain the best opportunity to seal up that third place.
Quickly run through the driver list for you. John Martin is driving for Australia here this weekend. Janji Negrao for Brazil. James Hinchcliffe is back for Team Canada because Rob Wickens is on other duties this weekend. Kung Fu or Frankie Cheng is for China. Philippe Salaquada for the Czech Republic, and there he is. He's been going extremely well actually in the practice sessions so far. Frank Montagny for France, as we know, and Robbie Kerr for Great Britain. Michael Ammermuller for Germany. Satrio Hermanto for Indonesia. Narain Carter-Kayan has been going fast for Team India. We spoke to Adam Carroll for Ireland earlier. Eduardo Piscopo is driving for Italy. Khalil Bashir's got the chance again for Lebanon. Faraz Fauzi for Malaysia. David Martinez is back for Team Mexico. First event actually of this season of A1GP. Your own Blake and Mullen for the Dutch fans, and there they are. Always got the Dutch fans on hand here at Brands Hatch, so good to see them. And then we've got Johnny Reid driving for New Zealand, Adam Khan for Pakistan, Philippe Albuquerque for Portugal, Adrian Zaub for South Africa, Neil Yarni for Switzerland, and Jonathan Summerton for USA. And there is Narain Carter-Kayan psyching himself up for the start of qualifying.
Oh, well, I tell you, he will be hard on it. If anybody's capable of being fast out of the box, it is Narain Carter-Kayan. In fact, his first flying lap on the circuit on Friday afternoon was, virtually the best, equaling the best time of the rookies who'd had the best part of 50 minutes on Friday morning. And Narain Carter-Kayan and Brands Hatch are a partnership that are just about as good as it's going to be.
Yeah, so we'll wait and see what they can do. They qualified pretty well here last year as well, in fact, Team India, on the first 3 rows. So that's the sort of thing they'll be looking for again, and see whether if they can start up front. Well, that'd be good news. 5th on the grid last time, 7th in the sprint race, 4th in the feature race. So they had some good results here last season. So the clock is ticking away now. The track is open, but no one's going out yet.
Well, this is the problem. Everybody knows that if they wait until the end of the 15 minutes for the first segment of qualifying and those 3 that follow, they are going to get essentially the track at its best. The difficulty, as was explained earlier, is that if you wait until the end, you've got 22 nations who are going to hang around and wait with 3 minutes to go. Well, 3 minutes into 22 cars means that not just one but a number of people are going to lose out. The track is not really big enough to allow people that luxury, so at some point I hope somebody will take the option and go out. They may well benefit simply because they'll get that clear lap.
Well, Robbie Kerr will be waiting, I think, until pretty late in the session. I popped down there earlier to see what the plan was, and they said, yeah, we'll probably try and run fairly late on, but if everybody does that, of course, then there will be those problems of being held up. Your own Blake Mullen, as I say, plenty of support for him here this weekend, and they'd like to finish the season on a high. They haven't taken a victory in this 3rd season of A1GP. First season that they haven't managed to do that. Blake Mullen himself took a win in Beijing in season 2, and of course Jos Verstappen won at Durban in season 1. But they've been consistent front runners, certainly top 6, top 7 finishers throughout the season, and very respectable in terms of their overall performance.
James Hinchcliffe back in for Canada. Rob Wickens, who's been really one of the finds, one of the stars of the 3rd series of A1GP. He's off on other duties this weekend, so James Hinchcliffe back in. and he's not had a run in an A1GP car since, well, basically the end of 2007. So he's a little bit rusty in relationship to this car, though he does have another program over in the United States.
Iliani just focusing himself on the challenge in hand here. Most important thing is to keep the car in one piece. He would love to be on the front row, but the most important thing is to be somewhere near the front, and ultimately if he can be ahead of New Zealand, that would be something he'd be very happy about.
Well, somebody's coming out of the pit lane, and that somebody is Adam Khan for Pakistan.
Indeed it is, and Adam knows this track quite well. In fact, he had a very good performance here in the first ever event of A1GP. Qualified in 8th place for this race when we first came here, the very first event in 2005, September it was then. Brands Hatch started the campaign, and interestingly, John, with this current car engine package, of course, it started the whole process in 2005. We're now coming to the end of that 3-year process back here at Brands Hatch. This will be the last event for this Lola designed A1GP car powered by its Zytec engine.
Yes, and how well has it served A1GP? 3 seasons with an engine, gearbox, entire package, chassis package, and really this car has been the bulwark for 3 seasons of A1GP. Now we're looking forward to Series 4 with a Ferrari engine, a Ferrari designed chassis, and a totally new sort of foundation to work forward from.
Yeah, Adam Khan taking the decision to go out early. Philippe Albuquerque, meanwhile, waiting to come out for Team Portugal. And Faraz Fawzi, who did race here in that very opening meeting of A1GP at Brands Hatch some years ago, he is back in the car again this weekend. And certainly Malaysia's performances have been much better in the last few events. They do share technical information with USA, and that victory for Somerton has given them confidence as well. But Pakistan about to go on to their single flying lap in this first 15-minute segment.
So first run into Paddock Hill Bend on a racetrack. The drivers have not been on for over 2 hours. Though engine out of Paddock Hill Bend, runs the curbing well on the outside, doesn't get any deflection.
Into Druids, a famous hairpin corner, then back down the hill towards the left-hander, a tighter corner than it used to be, but it's one that's very easy to make a mistake and run wide. That was pretty good from Adam.
Yes, I mean, he's just got to make a clean lap, try not to be a hero. He's locking it up, going into 30s, unnecessary at this point. But of course, Adam is one of those drivers who is either off the throttle or on the throttle, and there is still, and all the time I talk to him and tell him, the throttle pedal isn't a switch. Use it like an organ pedal. You know, progression, progression, progression.
1 point scored by Team Pakistan so far this year. There's the onboard camera on the front leading edge of the underfloor, the plank that lies beneath the chassis. The car really weaved around there through Westfield.
Yeah, you got an idea of just how close you're under the curb, and catching the curb, the back of the car just flicked out through the sheen curb. That's an invisible rise up to the corner. Then suddenly you see the curbing, and by that time you're too late. You've got to make a commitment before you see the curbing.
The tarmac rushing at you, the trees are rushing at you as well, as Adam Khan comes through the final turn. It clearways onto Clark Curve and onto Brabham Straight to complete his one and only flying lap in this particular segment of qualifying. It's a 1 minute 17.9.
That's over a second slower than he did this morning. He did a 1:16.2 this morning. 1:17.930 is not good enough by any standards. Now watch again, this is the view from the track camera. This is where we saw the back of the car wobbling, and that's what happened. It was a big wobble, but not unfamiliar for Adam. He doesn't mind the car moving around. He's got that character and personality that says, I will deal with it from the cockpit.
Yep, so he's completed his qualifying run. He now makes his way slowly back towards the pit. There's the mental rehearsal going on for Robbie Kerr. I wonder which part of the track he's on when he's got his eyes closed.
Well, it's either that or he's feeling the pain or the pressure of China.
I don't think so, John. I think he's getting well psyched up. It matters so much to him to be on pole position for those 2 races.
There is no question who wants to be in pole position for their home race, and Robbie, as I say, had a difficult time in Shanghai when he was back in the car, having been out of it for 2-3 events. Now this focus going through the mental exercises that he has got. I mean, he's not listening to sea music, or he's not listening to whales, whatever whales do when they communicate with each other. That's just deep focus and trying to get himself sort of in tune, I suppose, is all I can say, with what he's going to expect.
It's a slightly different approach from Frank Montagny. It's the distant gaze, looking far away, not really looking at anything, not really focusing on anything visually, but mentally, no doubt, doing likewise. Frankie Cheng, he's in the car, eyes open, visor up at the moment. And as you can see from the helmet visor there, announcement made that the first race of the next season of A1GP will be at Mugello in Italy on the 21st of September this year.
Just to go back to Adam Khan, just to clarify that he did actually run on a set of tyres that he had used previously. That would explain why he was, the best part of 1.5 seconds slower. So he's used up that one set, assuming he didn't use a new set. Some of the drivers and some of the teams, particularly the drivers who've got less experience of Brands Hatch, may well have taken one of the sets that they would like to keep back for qualifying to run it this morning to give their driver the option to find out what the car will be like. Those at the front will not have done that, and including they were looking inside the Brazil car. Zhangji Negrao back in the car again, and Emerson Fittipaldi very much present at this event, guiding his young Brazilian proteges. He's got a lot of faith in the young drivers that are coming through Brazil, particularly those who are coming through karting. Not so much maybe with Zhangji Negrao, but others that are going to come after him, and Emerson looking forward to seeing them develop, and you never know where they'll end up.
So just 7 minutes remain in this session. We're over halfway through it, and we've only had the one time set, but I think we're going to see things getting more busy in a moment. And in fact, Team India are next to go out on circuit, so that's suitable enough. We've had Pakistan out. Let's go for the great sporting rival nation, Team India, and see what they can do.
Yeah, and they're on new tyres as you see India come up, and Narain Karthikeyan, and just watch this outlap. I suspect it's going to be a fairly hard outlap. The key is to know whether to go hard, moderately or gently on the outlap, Australia following suit, because simply it's a question of getting the optimum performance out of that tyre. These are race tyres, these are not soft race tyres, these are just race tyres. We don't have an option over soft or prime, so you've got to decide how best to do your outlap to ensure that once you come through Clark Curve onto the start finish straight for your flying lap, that your tyre will be at its optimum.
Yeah, that's what you've got to do. There's John Martin out for Australia. I saw that Philippe Salakada of Czech Republic was also out on track between these two. And John Martin has raced here before. He's won a Formula Ford race around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, so he does know the place well, but he's not been going that rapidly in practice, so they've got to find a little bit of something special. Will Power, who drove for Australia in the very first event of A1GP here at Brands Hatch, was very impressive. And in fact, they're qualified on the 4th spot for the sprint race. Now, here we go then, John. Coming onto the flying lap in just a moment is Narain Karthikeyan.
Did a 1:15.4 this morning. Best time over the 2 days is a 1:14.891, and that's between the fastest lap in a race and of course the single fastest qualifying lap. But there's the confidence in Narain Karthikeyan. He just chucks the car into Padical Bend and then gets back on the throttle.
So watch him, a little bit of oversteer into Druids. He's always hard on the throttle coming out of these slow corners. Watch him down here, tends to kick the back end of the car, but on a new tyre, on the new tyre he's got more grip.
Oh, there's a lot more bite from the tyre. Simply just the tyre's new, it's at its best, and on this lap he hopes to drag out a time that will see him significantly quicker than the time from Pakistan. Pakistan, of course, as mentioning, were running on that used set of tyres when they first went out.
So down the hill, back up the rise again into Hawthorne Bend. Fast corner this one. Off the power briefly and then on it and over to the curb. Looks good at the moment.
That's what you've got to do. You've got to get the speed through Hawthorne, carry it all the way down to Westfield. Back end just snaps suddenly out. But again, car control and the grip up to Sheen Curve. And I mean, so quick through there. All of a sudden, you're landing into the middle of Sterling's corner. Be careful of the curve on the outside. Doesn't even get near to running it. And looks good so far for Narain Karthikeyan. He's got fastest segments in first and second naturally. He's the quickest car on the racetrack so far.
Yep, he's only got that time of Team Pakistan to beat, but what is the time going to be for Team India? Across the line, goes fastest, it's a 1:15.0. It's not the fastest we've seen yet this weekend.
No, it's not, but that's his fastest single lap, and well, we're going to see that time, I suspect, significantly encroached upon, and he'll not be entirely happy with it, but those are the track conditions we've got at the moment. It may be different when we get into segment 2.
So Australia go third. We've got India fastest, Czech Republic second, Australia third now, and Pakistan fourth. A time of a 15.8 for John Martin. I think they'll be a little disappointed with that. Mexico on track. This is David Martinez, and he's now on his hot lap. New to Brands Hatch, new pretty much to A1GP this season at least, and have a look at the data on board as well, John. 5th gear here, let's just listen. Waits to get on the throttle, then he's hard on it again. 5th gear, down to 4th for Westfield.
And just those bumps on the outside doesn't seem to be a problem for Mexico. Then the dip, Dingledale, then the difficulty of finding the apex and Sheen Curve again, all in 4th gear, then down 1 more gear to 3rd gear for Sterling's. Get it in neat and tidy, stay off that curve on the outside, it can really deflect the car.
Back up through the gears, down towards Clearways, final braking point before you come through the last corner. He's got to let it drift out wide here, and he gets on the power early. This is a reasonable lap, but will it be faster than Australia and Pakistan or not? No, it's not. He goes slowest of the 5 cars so far, 2/10 slower than Team Pakistan. He's 5th quickest.
Adam Carroll for Team Ireland has left the pit lane with 2 minutes and 40 seconds of the session remaining. My concern will be, as Adam Carroll comes round to start his flying lap, he may catch the end of those cars that are waiting till the last moment to go on to their flying lap, so hopefully there's not going to be too much of a traffic jam.
Brand new tyres on that car, no surprise there. I would think we'll see, yes, brand new tyres on the British car as well. Team France coming out now, Italy as well. There's Eduardo Piscopo. Now the track gets busy. Just over 2 minutes remaining in this first segment of qualifying, and still Robbie Kerr doesn't move. Germany come out, Lebanon en route.
Well, I think Robbie Kerr can wait. I would say it's still about 1 minute 45 of this session remaining. That's about the limit of what he can do to do his outlap and get back across the start-finish line with seconds to spare before he crosses the checkered flag.
Yeah, he is on the way now. He comes out behind the yellow and white car of Team Malaysia. There is the car of Great Britain. So he's left it pretty late, 1 minute 50 as he hits the track itself.
5 seconds out.
Pretty good, pretty good. So, a lot of cars on track at the moment, all out to try and beat India. He's taking it fairly steady initially.
Well, what he's doing is he wants to give himself space between the cars that he followed out and his track position, but of course he's going to find himself getting involved with cars on a flying lap. Here we've got New Zealand. We're waiting for Ireland to compete. He's coming up now. Ireland going to compete their flying lap. As we see now, Ireland are...
I think that's onto his flying lap actually. He was just completing his out lap. Now he's on it, John. Now he's flying. And look how much road he uses out of paddock.
Well, absolutely to the outside edge and got away with it. Now he gets the car in, keep it neat and tidy round. Druids, don't let the car drift too wide in the exit. Downhill to Graham Hill Bend.
So, can they get on the front row? They've never started on the front row, Team Ireland, but they're setting new records this year. They've taken their first victory. There's Mark Gallagher.
0.3 of a second quicker than India. So this is potentially the first of the cars that may break into a 1 minute 14 second lap. But there will be more than just one will do that.
Adam Carroll's one of the bravest drivers out there. Let's watch and listen to him here. Floating that car through the high-speed bends, now into Westfield.
But it's the bumps on the outside, that's where you can get caught out, but looks very good this lap. 57 is the second sector time. So let's see if he can get under that. He had 0.3 of a second advantage in that first sector. He's lost that. He's now lost, well, the best part of almost 0.4 of a second in the middle part of the racetrack.
That is the key sector. That's second sector of the racetrack is where people either win or lose time. He's a bit slidey through Clearways, but gets on the throttle. Is he going to beat the time set by India? 1:15.0 to beat. Let's see what it is across the line. No, second fastest for Team Ireland, and we've got a few more about to complete their laps.
China's also gone in time. Now many of the teams may have well and not up at the new tyre, but we saw certainly Great Britain went out on new tyres as the checkered flag now out.
Across the line goes the Netherlands, and they go third for Jeroen Blekemolen. And here comes China across the line, and China not so good, only 7th.
Well, that was not a new tyre run for China, or else they had a terrible mistake. France go 5th.
Yep, Italy across the line in 7th place. It's still India on top from Ireland, Germany up to 5th. Look at Neil Yarni. Oh, fantastic.
Well, that was certainly a great, just for that split second, a great image. The Swiss car, you don't often see it in a full-blown four-wheel power slide, but that was Neil Yarni giving it lots of time.
So here we go, the man who's trying to wrap up the title here this weekend, Neil Yarni, looking superb at the moment, but is it enough to take the fastest time from India? Cross the line, yes, he's done it, 14.772.
USA go third.
USA, here comes Great Britain across the line.
Second for Great Britain.
My goodness, Great Britain beaten by Switzerland in the first run of qualifying. Here comes New Zealand. Can the Black Beauty snatch it across the 13th?
Fourth for Portugal. We didn't see anything of Philippe Albuquerque. He was so busy on the racetrack, but a great run from Switzerland, and a surprise they've not really been in the top 3 at any point over the weekend. In spite of that glorious four-wheel slide coming out of Sheen Curve, Switzerland consolidate and take that provisional pole in the 1:14.772, quickest lap we've seen all weekend.
Brands Hatch has a reputation as one of the most challenging circuits in the world, and today in the first qualifying session Neil Yarni showed how he can master it, setting the stall out from the start in that first qualifying session by recording the quickest time. GBR in second. Robbie Kerr, always good here, holds the A1GP record for the fastest lap time, which he set last year. And India, currently Narayan Karthikeyan impressing as well, lying in third spot. The disappointment really, though, comes for Team New Zealand, who find themselves lingering somewhere down in 13th spot. Disappointing session one for Johnny Reid. Let's just get Andy's reaction to that as well. New Zealand, not where we thought they'd be after session one.
Looks like they're struggling. I wonder if they're using an old set of tyres. It would be high-risk strategy because I think the sprint race is crucial for him. Neil Yarni in Team Switzerland, what a fantastic lap. The car looks superb.
Yeah, he certainly did. Certainly looks like the man to beat here. Session two of qualifying just about to get underway then. Let's take you back trackside. John Watson and Ben Edwards will take you through session two.
The second segment of qualifying will be getting underway in just a few seconds' time. It's Switzerland on top at the moment, the reigning championship leaders looking for that title this weekend. Let's go and hear from Frankie Cheng of China, who's all the way down in 17th.
Frankie, you've been really, really quick all weekend, and obviously that session didn't quite go to plan. Do you have a problem with the car?
Well, we just struggle with the qualified performance. A single lap, we just somehow we cannot. The tire just not working well, and we struggle a lot. And I hope that the team can make a better change for the qualified two.
Thanks, Shanky.
And that's a feature of their performances recently. He can do the laps when they're out there in practice running several laps together, but that one lap wonder is sometimes hard to achieve.
Well, I think that's the key to it. When you get a sequence of laps you can run and you can work your way through a program and you get the confidence in the car, then you have a break of over 2 hours, you think about it, you know that you've got to deliver, and you go out on a set of tyres, and obviously he must have been on a new set of tyres, and in a sense you're expecting something which isn't there. Instead of just driving the car and not over-analysing it, and Frankie's just getting himself all tied up with himself and not running free and letting the car do its job.
Well, let's tap into a bit of some of the radio communication. This is with host nation GBR.
Okay, Robbie, understood. Your time 14.90, Switzerland 14.77. How is the balance?
Balance is okay. Front's probably a little bit sharp, but it's okay. I can drive it. I just want to get a lap where I can go from it, from the word go. If I have to go out in a queue like that, it just ruins it. I can't get the tyres hot.
And what were we talking about, John?
Well, I mean, isn't it as obvious as the nose and the face of everybody in the pit lane? You're going to wait, as everybody did pretty much with less than 3 minutes to go, and then you go out, you're going to spoil your lap in one form or other, whether it's on the out lap when you want to do what you want to do specifically, or you get traffic when you go onto your flying lap. I mean, look, there's 15 minutes. Everybody knows the end of the session is always the quicker part, but if you're being compromised, then don't go out and get compromised.
Absolutely. So that's interesting from Robbie. He's obviously happy with the car. He just feels that he needs to get out in some clear air so he can really push the tyres from the out lap so they're in prime condition for when he starts the flying lap. That's what he's asking the team to give him, a good exit point, if you like, out of the pit lane and not to be in the traffic. We'll see if they respond to that when we see them back out. The clock is already ticking away on this session, 12.5 minutes to go. Jeroen Bleekemolen for Team Netherlands, just sitting there watching. He's down in 7th place at the moment. Not a bad performance at all. If they could just ease up 1 or 2 places, I think they'd be pretty happy with that. And there's, as always, tremendous support for Team Netherlands. Always get a lot of Dutch fans coming across to Brands Hatch, but it's good to see it's not just the Dutch, the Portuguese fans as well. They've got something to get excited about too, because Philippe Albuquerque was on the podium both races last time out at Shanghai, and he's been on the pace here this weekend, currently in 4th place.
Well, there's certainly a lot of expats from all the nations around the world. London is a metropolis of different countries, and I mean, normally the Dutch, you wouldn't expect to see so many of them over here in the UK because they don't do plumbing and electricity, but they are here because it's only a short trip through the tunnel to come to Brands Hatch.
Team Malaysia sitting 11th at the moment for Faraz Fauzi, so they'd like to find a bit more. France are quite a long way down. They're down in 12th, and if you remember that battle for 3rd that's going on in the championship between France and Great Britain, I think Great Britain would be fairly satisfied with where they're sitting in comparison to France. Great Britain potentially on the front row and France on row 6. There's James Hinchcliffe. Welcome return to James for Team Canada in this final outing of the season. He says it feels like a completely different season to him because he did race in the early part of this season 3, but he raced was last time out he was at Brno, I think, so it's been a long time since he was in the car.
Yeah, and I think the difference for James is that he's come back into A1GP when the car's at its most refined, and a part of that has been Rob Wickens, who's done a great job for Canada, and the cars have just become that little bit more competitive. The detailing in setup has changed. So what James Hinchcliffe remembers when he drove in last was Brno or not is a race car that had one particular fundamental characteristic. Now that's probably quite different.
Adrian Zaug of South Africa, currently 9th there on the grid, potentially for the moment, just ahead of Germany and just behind the Czech Republic. Another great effort by Filip Salaquada, by the way, of the Czech Republic. He's outperforming some of the more regular front runners at the moment. Adrian needs to think about this a touch. He hasn't really shown the sort of form that we saw particularly at Zandvoort at the start of the season, and then of course put in another very, very good qualifying performance just recently when he took pole position for the sprint race in Mexico, but he's not showing that kind of pace here as yet at Brands Hatch.
You know, and there's a number of people in the pit lane that you could say their consistency, I mean, not just simply drivers, but your teams, they have this slightly sort of undulating form, whereas to really be consistently successful as Switzerland have been, and we're now seeing Canada getting up there, Portugal even at the tail end of the season is finding that continuity and consistency. It's so important, and once you get into that zone, I mean, even take Ireland winning finally in Mexico, then they get a second podium in China, and coming here to Brands Hatch, Adam Carroll so determined to give Ireland another podium.
Right, we talked about Team France a moment ago, currently 12th. I wonder if we can get any inside information from their rookie driver, Nicolas Prost.
Alan, nice to be back here at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, it's a good way of recording what I've done in more than 20 years ago. First championship year in 85 and the last race in Formula 1 86, so it's didn't change very much.
Is this a circuit that you enjoyed coming to as a driver?
Yes, very much, even if it was one of the most difficult circuits to drive, especially with Formula 1, especially when it was wet also. But it has always been a very difficult track to set up the car to be competitive.
A lot of the drivers, I know Nico as well, said it was a difficult track to drive, especially in the A1 car. What knowledge can you give to Frank about driving this track?
He did not know also the track himself. It's difficult to give some advice because it's a long time. It is also a different car. You know, this type of cars, it's different tires. Sometimes I don't like to give some advice. You know, what I said, obviously, knowing the track is an advantage, but if you do not have the right setup on the car, it's almost impossible to be quick here.
And Alain, I know you're a very patriotic man. You're very proud to be French. France, of course, still in the running to finish second or third in this championship. It's a very big weekend.
Yeah, it's a big weekend, even if at the beginning of the year they wanted to win again this championship. But it is important to finish on the podium and to prepare the future in the best way possible.
And do you think that France are starting to embrace A1GP? To embrace, is catching on in France?
That we have to work on it. In France, motor racing is really not in a good shape. A1GP may be the best way to bring motorsport in a better value because of the nation importance. You know, I hope so.
Alan, thank you very much.
With Alain Prost. Great to see him here this weekend. There is Nicolas standing right next to him, the rookie driver for Team France this year.
Yeah, Nicolas did a very good job again for France, not knowing the racetrack, and it is a difficult circuit coming for the first time, and with the restriction on running that the prime drivers have, only getting that 1 hour on Friday afternoon and then an hour on Saturday morning before you have to commit to go into qualification. Unlike people here, Narain Karthikeyan, who knows this racetrack probably better than any racetrack he's ever raced on, and again going back to that superb run, third quickest in that first segment of qualifying, and again pretty much first car out on track.
Team India then on circuit, so is Italy. Edoardo Piscopo, we're not expecting him to perform perhaps quite as well as Carter Cairn, just based on their practice performances and on what they've done so far. India currently 3rd, Italy currently 15th. There's a really interesting onboard view on the Italian car though. Looking at the right front wheel, you're looking at the brake duct and that whole suspension assembly there.
Yes, you get an idea just the amount of load that goes into the steering of the car, also the suspension. Not a lot of deflection. That camera doesn't really tell you how much vertical movement, and there's not an awful lot of that. As we now cut back to Australia, and it was at this point this morning that John Martin got it wrong in Sheen Curve and had that spin. And Narain Karthikeyan again runs the curve, this time a bit more aggressive than in his first one. Wisp of smoke coming off that unloaded inside wheel round Druids.
Yep, now he's really going for it. Here's Narain Karthikeyan. This is his last chance to try and qualify on the front row for the sprint race. He'll have another opportunity to go out and qualify, but that will then be for the longer feature race. So this is it for the sprint race. What can he drag out of the Team India car? Looking fantastic at the moment, but will he carry enough speed? He's looking to beat 1:14.772 set by Switzerland in the first segment.
Yes, he's just under 3/10 of a second slower than the Swiss time. Traditionally, we're seeing nations use their set of tyres from the first qualifying segment into the second, keeping the 2 new remaining sets. I mean, that was Narain Karthikeyan at his most, well, I mean, just at his best.
Opposite lot through Westfield corner, and he had it on so early the car didn't really get out of shape. That was lovely car control from Karthikeyan. Good out of Sterling's, just a little twitch on the exit of the corner, but otherwise it's looking smooth. Now into clearways, he's brave through here. Watch the car over the rise, down right onto the edge of the grass. Beautiful stuff, but is it enough to go quickest? He's about to cross the line. Can he beat Team Switzerland? No, he can't. It's a slower lap than he managed, only by a 10th. But he stays 3rd.
Yes, and that's, I think, pretty much what we're going to see from the majority of cars in this second segment of qualifying. They've used up the new tyre on the first run, and now they're going to try and drag the best of the best on the second.
Italy, similar story, a fraction quicker, but he stays where he was, 15th place. He was faster by a few hundredths. Australia across the line, and that is an improvement.
Yeah, about 15 points through that is half a second improvement for John Martin, and really for the first time you're seeing Australia get into the top 10.
Well, good effort that by Australia's John Martin, but we'll see some more improvements coming through. Here comes Pakistan, currently in 20th place. Let's see if Adam can use his Brands Hatch circuit knowledge to good effect and move up the order a little bit. Across the line he goes, yes, up to 16th.
So he'll not be unhappy with that. 1:16.086, and that's what 1.5 seconds, more than 1.5 seconds quicker than his first run. Back to Philippe Salaquada, currently in 9th place, just dropped 1 place as a consequence, but great run in the first for the Czech Republic.
Yep, so let's see if this brings him further up the top 10 again. No, he stays 9th, no improvement on that lap.
Well, you're talking about 20,000th of a second, but 2 very, very consistent laps for Philippe Salaquada, and that will be, I think, a pretty good effort indeed.
Yeah, great stuff, and well, I wonder if he'll hold on to top 10. Even if he doesn't, it's still going to be one of their best performances of the year. On board with Team Mexico, still working that steering pretty hard through the fast sections out the back here. And remember, you can keep tabs with your nation and the times that they're doing in qualifying. It's hard for us to follow them all sometimes at A1GP.com. We've got live timing and scoring there, so you can see what your nation's up to, even if we don't manage to catch every single car as it crosses the line. We're going to see what Mexico does here. Cross the line here. And no, yes, he does improve slightly actually, and he goes ahead of Lebanon and Indonesia.
But that 1:17.4 is 2.5 seconds slower. Switzerland, are we looking at Neil Yarney in the car, just giving himself a little top up of one of those athletic drinks that drivers need. Not really that you're required, it's not a particularly hot day, but just keep the fluid levels up. And Team GBR take off the tyre warmers as France roll out, and that's a new set of tyres for me on the French car.
That's interesting. So are they going for 2 new sets, or were they on an old set for the first run? They might have been, because he was only 12th, wasn't he, on the first run of qualifying?
Yeah, he did a 1:15.7, so it's difficult to judge whether that was an old tyre, a new tyre scenario, as Robbie Kerr rolls out of the garage and just rolls in behind the Swiss car. So again, track position will be absolutely key for Team GBR.
Interestingly,
Drops back, lets the Swiss car get ahead.
Because those are the top 2. Switzerland and Great Britain are currently the top 2, and they've gone out at the same time on circuit, so that's interesting. And behind them, there goes James Hinchcliffe of Canada. He's now down to 19th position. So they're really building up now to the battle for pole position here at Brands Hatch. For what is the sprint race, remember, we go into completely separate qualifying for the feature race, but the sprint race climax is building New Zealand out onto track, and so is Team Portugal.
Yeah, and these are the last 2 nations where you think, yes, they are, to come out onto track, and really with very little time left, Philippe Albuquerque's got to be careful not to be too relaxed on his outlap. He must get in, get those tyres working, get the temperature, maintain the temperature. What he doesn't want to do is to let that temperature drop off by running too slowly. Equally, he doesn't want to catch the tail of the New Zealand car too soon, which may interfere with his own lap.
So France about to go on to a flying lap here. Frank Montagny, let's see what he can do. His second event in A1GP, but is a vastly experienced driver, very, very fast in all forms of single-seater racing that he's contested over the years into Paddock Hill Bend. Looking good through there. Alain Prost watching from the sidelines, as we saw, down in pit lane, seeing if France can try and hold on at least to third place in the championship and perhaps even push New Zealand for second place overall.
So they need to find some pace, currently 13th. They need to find the best part of a second. In fact, they need to find about a second and a half.
Down towards the left-hander at Surtees. Long entry here and then back up the hill. That looked good through there for Frank Montagny. Can he get the performance in a straight line that he needs as he goes under the bridge towards Hawthorne's corner? This dauntingly fast right-hander in the woodlands. And he's neat through there, out to the curve. Great.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lovely exit out of Hawthorne's. Just about as wide as you want to be without running too wide. Then the exit out of Westfield again. You want to carry the speed all the way down the dip, then up the hill, up the other side. Just point the car to Sheen Curve, and again, well, give him 99.9 out of 100 for that. Sterling's corner, don't overrun the curve on the outside. Looks good for France. They need to find time. 1 minute 15.712 was their first effort. This surely has got to see them in the low 15s, maybe high 14s.
They've qualified third here at Brands Hatch in both previous years. I'm not sure it will be that far up this time. He's fifth at the moment, still with a few to go. Checker flag is out, but several cars now on their flying laps. So France fifth.
Ireland go third.
Good effort from Adam Carroll. Adam Carroll up to third. Now, what about the Netherlands? Cross the line. You're on Blakemolden. No improvement. He stays eighth. Switzerland still on track. Let's see what the others are doing.
Germany improves to eighth.
Good effort from Germany. Here comes Switzerland. Can Neil Yarni go even quicker than he did last time? Remember, 1:14.7 was his best. Across the line he goes. And no, it's a 1:15.0.
Great Britain comes across the line and they go quickest. 1:14.424.
Fantastic lap by Robbie Kerr. He takes pole position unless somebody else comes along and snatches it in the closing moments. USA goes second. USA goes second. Jonathan Somerton, brilliant performance. South Africa goes seventh.
0.02 of a second slower than GBR. Now, where did that time come from? The USA. Portugal comes across the line. Sixth for Philippe Albuquerque.
And it's Malaysia last across the line. They are 14th. It's Great Britain on pole for the sprint race on home soil here, just as he did last year. Robbie Kerr has done it, and by just 0.02 of a second from USA. That's remarkable from Jonathan Somerton. Absolutely brilliant, but Robbie Kerr has done enough. That was what he set out to achieve. Pole for the sprint race, but he's now got to go back to the pits, think about it, and try and do the same for the feature race as well. Nobody has ever won both races on home soil, and that is certainly got to be his ambition for tomorrow, and that's the perfect way to start. Brilliant stuff from Robbie Kerr, as we expected. Absolutely on the pace, and no doubt they judged it to perfection that time. So, pole position for the sprint race. Now, can they do it again? That's got to be the big question, and that's what everybody will be looking for. Australia came up quite well in that session in the end, up to 12th, by the way. Czech Republic got pushed back down to 13th after their very impressive run earlier on. Canada are down in 15th, and China still didn't really do anything. So Frankie Cheng, so fast this morning, but he's all the way down in 16th.
No wonder the boss, Tony Clements, is congratulating his GBR team. 0.06 of a second slower than his pole last year, that drive from Robbie Kerr. So confirmation then of how things ended in session 2. Robbie Kerr winning the sprint and second in the feature last year. He's on pole for the sprint this year. Jonathan Somerton in second, Neil Yarni in third. Back to the commentators.
So we've had 2 segments of qualifying. The sprint race grid is decided, but now we go back to zero effectively, start all over again, and it's qualifying for the feature race, and it's underway now. Green flag from the end of the pit lane, but surprise, surprise, there's no queue down there.
Well, half the field have just come back into the pit lane. They're just getting out of the car, having a catch of the breath for a moment or two, and only those such as India that went out very early in that session are prepared to go out, but I would imagine that we're going to see even fewer being inclined to go out quite so early in this 15-minute session.
Well, there's Adam Carroll getting ready to go, but Lee has managed to catch up with the man himself, Robbie Kerr. Let's quickly go down to them.
Robbie, I know you're concentrating, you're still very busy. You must be happy with how things are going so far.
Well, it's part one of the job done, and now we've just got to focus on the next part.
Happy with the car, happy with the team yourself?
We're still going to change it a little bit and make the car a bit better.
You're a perfectionist, thank you very much.
So good to grab a word with Robbie, despite the focus that now is applied towards the feature race. And that lap, I mean, I thought it was a fantastic lap that he'd put in, but then Jonathan Somerton almost snatched it away from him.
Yes, he did, and we weren't really keeping an eye on Team USA. I think it caught the attention of everybody in the pit lane when the time came up, but there was a great run from Robbie Kerr and Team GBR, and then within 0.02 of a second, that time was almost matched by Team USA, and young Jonathan Somerton, winner of the feature race in Shanghai, is, I mean, between the pair of them, the start into turn one, I don't know who's going to concede.
Now, what does it mean in terms of the battle for third with France in the championship? Well, France qualified 8th, Great Britain on pole. Prospect there for Great Britain to really close up that gap that is in the points between them. So good news from Great Britain from that point of view. The gap currently 12 points between those two nations, so they do need a few cars between themselves and France.
Yeah, I mean, if the positions were to stay for the feature race as they are for the sprint race, then it would take a lot of work in both the events for any opportunity for that French team to do anything more than consolidate third place.
Faris Fawzi seeing whether they can come up with any little ideas, any little tweaks that might move them further up the grid. Remember, they do share technical information with USA, and they've just seen Jonathan Somerton put in that blisteringly fast lap, so I should think Faris will try and look at some data there and see if he can find out where Jonathan managed to shortcut the track somewhere.
Well,
maybe.
I think the difficulty, when you do have this crossover of information between teams, the one factor that you can't swap over is that whatever individual driver's preferences are, I mean, Jonathan Somerton, we know, can drive a car that's principally a loose car at the back. It can slide around. Other drivers just hate that kind of car setup. So while they've got the crossover of information, and USA may well be quicker than Malaysia, there's no guarantee that Faris Fawzi could actually drive Somerton's car.
Well, down in the pit lane, Simon is going to go and have a chat with Brazil's boss, Emerson Fittipaldi.
Emerson, I saw you were listening very carefully to the conversation between your driver and the engineer. How much input do you have in the setup?
Well, I just come here to see what his comments and the engineer, but for Sean it's very difficult. His second race, and one flying lap is a lot of pressure to get the lap correct. He was complaining of oversteering now, and hope we get the car better for the next run, but it's always very difficult on flying lap.
Now, you know this circuit of old from years ago when you were winning races. I know it's changed a little bit, but the spirit is still the same. How much can you help your drivers?
Well, I can listen to the conversation, try to give some advice, but Brands Hatch is a very selective circuit. It's very difficult to get the whole lap correct, because you have downhill corners, uphill corners, fast, slow corners. I mean, it's a very technical track, and it's always a compromise to have the best lap here.
Thank you, Emerson.
Thank you.
So Emerson Fittipaldi there, definitely with a bit of work to be done by the team. Winners at Brands Hatch in the very first season, with Nelson Piquet at the wheel. 2 excellent performances, but that was the last time that Brazil won in A1GP, so that seems like a while ago.
It's a long time ago, and even when Nelson Piquet went on to compete in further rounds of A1GP in that first series, he never really got back to the level, and you never sometimes wonder whether that was a lack of interest or whether he was thinking about his future as he cut back to Alain Prost and son Nicola there talking to Frank Montagny's father on the left, with the moustache. Of course, Alain is such a knowledgeable race driver, not just simply about his racecraft, but in terms of the preparation for the car. Got nicknamed the Professor for that ability, and he went about his job in a way which was particular to Alain when he was partnered with Ayrton Senna. The two of them, totally different approaches, and it was a tough time for Alain. Maybe some people said that had a significant effect on Alain after that partnership broke up in the late 80s.
Well, there is Michael Ammermuller at Team Germany. He's qualified 9th for the sprint race, but Germany would like to do better than that. They won here last year in the feature race after a tremendous battle with Robbie Kerr. Of course, Robbie took the win in the sprint race and then went wheel to wheel with Hulkenberg for victory in the feature race, and it was Hulkenberg who wrapped up the title for Germany here who took the final win of the season. And Michael Ammermuller just trying to get to terms with the track. He's also feeling a bit under the weather, so things are not going well for him at the moment. Good effort from Philippe Salocada, though. He qualified in 13th place so far. Not the best qualifying for the Czech Republic of the season, but certainly their best, I would say, for a little while, and his personal best to date, because he was 14th on the grid for the Shanghai feature. He's gone one better here.
Well, really the team that have got to do the most work this afternoon is this team, New Zealand, Johnny Reid, and it's all slipped away in the sprint race qualifying. He's got the chance to recover for the feature race. Remember that the qualifying now applies to respective races. It's not dependent on the finish as it was in previous series of the sprint race.
There's the view with Neil Yarni. See whether he can claim back a pole position here. We've got a lot of former Grand Prix drivers amongst the ranks down in pit lane. Let's hear now from Derek Warwick. He's with Simon.
Derek, look like you're enjoying the sunshine, enjoying being back at Brands Hatch. I guess there's a lot of your former colleagues around as well. But most importantly, what are you thinking of A1 so far?
Oh, it's fantastic. You know, I've been here 2 days now, and I've been all the way around the circuit. These guys are really committed. You know, they're not just average racing drivers. They're world-class racing drivers in a world-class series. You know, it really works well. The cars look good on the circuit. They look really, really difficult to drive. And the top guys are guys that could be in Formula One. You know, that's the sort of level that you're talking about here.
Now, I'm sure if you're anything like some of your colleagues, Alan Jones and Emerson Fittipaldi and John Watson, they've all said, I wish we had this in my day. I bet you're thinking the same.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it'd be a great little stepping stone for Formula One, you know, and I think it's a great feeder series. You know, a lot of people talk about World Series, they talk about GP2. I think they've got to talk about A1 up there with it as a feeder series for young talent to come up through into Formula One.
And looking at the series itself, obviously there's a big involvement next year with Ferrari. What's your thoughts on how that's going to change the face of the series?
Well, what a great move for A1, you know, to have the credibility of having Ferrari behind them, Ferrari engine, you know, and have a Ferrari badge on the car. It gives a lot of credibility, and it moves up to the next level. You know, every year, this is the 3rd year now, you see A1 improving, getting better, getting stronger, getting more credibility, and Ferrari will almost give that finishing touch, I think, that will put them into the next level.
Thanks, Derek.
My pleasure. Cheers.
So Derek Warwick, good to hear from him, and just standing outside the Mexican pit at the moment, waiting for anyone to come out in this segment of qualifying. We have got the clock ticking away, but as yet there's no sign of anyone coming out. Just hearing an engine firing up in the background, and we'll see who decides to come out first of all. And it's Team France this time, interestingly enough. Frank Montagny on the way out of the pit. Just a quick note about those used tyres by the looks of things, and I would imagine most people will be on used tyres for this segment of qualifying. Quick note about the advantage that Great Britain and USA had over the rest. It was nearly 0.4 of a second, well certainly 3.5 of a second, the margin that GBR and USA had over Switzerland, Ireland and the others.
Yes, and I think the GB time is probably no big surprise to the pit lane, but I think the USA time has really rocked those people, particularly Switzerland and Ireland, who were vying for the second position on the front row of the grid alongside Great Britain, and then suddenly USA just slot that time in 0.002 of a second down on GB's time, and that is a wake-up call again for GBR. They've got to be aware that it isn't just the experts around the Brands Hatch circuit. There's a youngster out there from the USA who's more than capable of putting a serious threat to anybody for pole position for future race.
He did race here last year and actually was quick in the practice sessions, made a little mistake in qualifying, did Jonathan Summerton last year, but so he was only 11th on the grid for the sprint race, but he did come home 6th in the feature, so he obviously loves this Brands Hatch track. There we are, there's Frank Montagny still on his outlap, but as he comes past the line next time, he'll be on his qualifier, but as we saw, on a used set of tyres.
Yes, he's got a glimpse of the steering wheel cam and watching the driver's hands change up the gear on the right-hand side of the steering wheel, down the gears on the left-hand side.
So across the line he goes. Remember, he wants to be much closer to Great Britain on the grid for the feature race than he is for the sprint race. It's going to be tough to move up from where he is in qualifying for the sprint race. 8th place, won't be much overtaking on the shorter distance sprint race. More opportunities, of course, in the feature race with those 2 pit stops.
The hope that France has got, and to me they're in the middle of what I would call no man's land on the grid. They're on the 4th row of the grid, so they've got to be careful. There always is at the start of that rolling start event contact somewhere, and of course it's a very quick approach into Paddock Hill Bend. Everybody's got to be very aware, very careful, and France, in the heart of all that action, probably above all, needs to keep keep themselves out of the trouble.
Yeah, that's the important thing. Montagny just putting in a solid lap here. It's going to be probably segment 4 of qualifying that's going to determine the outcome for this feature race. But it's all useful experience still. Get another lap under your belt, see what the car's doing, get a feel for it, and then make those final little tiny adjustments that will make it even faster in the final segment. Great onboard shot there. Looking at the hands, working hard at the wheel.
When we talk about adjustments, and we heard Robbie Kerr mention that he's looking to improve the car. I mean, there is no notebook that says by doing this will improve it. All you can do is go by what you believe and the information you get. Every improvement may not necessarily. In that time, a 1:16.663, good run from Frank Montagny, and only about 0.2 of a second down on his previous best in that sprint qualifying.
And here's Philippe Salaquada, who's been very strong so far. Again, probably on a used set of tyres across the line. 15.7, so he's second to France, but again, a very respectable effort. And we'll see what he can do on the new tyre. Australia on a lap, but they might get held up by Mexico through the final corner here.
Maybe he's been lucky, but of course any car that's as close to you as the Mexican car is a slight distraction, but it does a 1:17.2. Well, that time was, you can confine that one to the bin, because that's not going to help Australia at all. As we look into the team garage, we go back to Adam Khan, a little bit of a wobble on the exit of Clark Curve. So what will the Pakistan driver do?
Okay, let's see. 4 cars to a set of time. He goes third ahead of Australia. Australia definitely backed off there, I think, after that closing up on Mexico. It didn't really matter. There's the camera underneath, slung underneath the car. You're looking at the trailing edge of the front wing, looking at the lower suspension arms as well.
Yeah, it's just over 3 minutes remaining, and we've only had 4 cars record a time. Again, Robbie Kerr probably going to linger until the last moment to come out on track, hoping that he will get that clear out lap, and more importantly, the clear flying lap.
Just 3 minutes to go in this session, so again, it's going to be a very, very busy track once these guys start to come out and play. Martinez still building up his confidence and speed around the back section of the circuit. Clips in the inside at Sheen Curve, keeps it tidy, stays off the grass, into Sterling. Get on the power early, really launch it out of the corner. A little bit of positive camber to help you there, and down towards Clearways.
Yes, he was only 21st or 22 in the sprint qualifying. His best lap was 1:17.4, so anything that's better than that will be a step forward for the Mexican driver.
Across the line, it's a 1:18.0.
In fact, that's, well, just fractionally quicker than he did in the first qualifying for the sprint race. Now the pit lane starts to come alive in Germany. We see Switzerland, Great Britain again following Switzerland out onto the circuit. Whether that's bad timing or good timing, well, we wait. In fact, it's behind the, there we are, the Swiss car. Robbie Kerr backs right off again, and now holds up the chain of the rest of the cars in the pit lane. So just over 2 minutes of this session remaining.
Germany taking it slow too, and Switzerland really leaving it again to the last possible moment, waiting for everyone to make their way down. In fact, New Zealand coming out behind them, and Portugal looks like it again will be Portugal to finish the lap.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to be careful. We've just got 1:40 as they get onto the racetrack itself. A slow lap is probably about a 1:25. A flying lap is going to be somewhere down in the 1:14s if you're doing a good job, or more likely in the 1:15s.
So again, we've got a whole stream of cars, and it'll be a question of sort of watching the times at the end of the lap rather than it following each individual lap, because they will see the checkered next time around. Faraz Fauzi for Team Malaysia there, and we've got France fastest at the moment from the Czech Republic, Pakistan, Australia and Mexico, but only 5 nations have set a time.
Well, as we look around the rest of the racetrack, Ireland have just gone across the start-finish line to start their one and only flying lap in this first sector of feature qualifying, and then the rest of the field just follows through.
Yeah, it was a good 4th place in the sprint race for Team Ireland, wasn't it? And that almost matches their best ever performance. Yet to get on a front row, though. I wonder if they can do it in the very last qualifying run.
Just fractionally outside the first sector best time. So certainly in terms of out-and-out pace, probably matching France, but at times in this sector undoubtedly going to be slower than we saw from the best of the 2 sectors of the sprint qualifying.
So through and sliding through Hawthorns he comes, Adam Carroll. Watch him through Westfield. The back end of the car does get lively here, but actually that looked good over the bumps.
Yeah, he got a nice clean exit. He ran the curve, but there wasn't that sort of ratcheting we've seen sometimes when some of the cars get that sequence of bumps out of sequence.
Into the left-hander, chuck it in, get on the power, away we go once again, and then down to the final part of the lap. The clock ticking away, and he'll see the checkered flag as he comes across the line this time.
The Netherlands looking good in the second sector there, showing quickest time on that part of the racetrack. Ireland, the sprint across the line.
Go fastest. Good effort by Ireland there. Remember, these times are likely to be eclipsed when they're on the new tyres. Netherlands could be quicker. Across the line goes Jeroen Bleekemolen. No, he loses a bit on the final sector and goes third. So it's now Ireland, France, Netherlands and Czech Republic. Plenty more to go.
So we got Team GBR, Robbie Kerr. He's looking to consolidate. One would believe that he's not going to get to match that time, 1:14.424 he achieved in that second qualifying segment for the sprint race, but he may well find himself, as India goes quickest, ahead of Ireland.
And he was 2/10 up on the splits. He could go quickest again here. Could Great Britain across the line? He goes, yep, it's provisional pole again, but with plenty more to come in the final segment of qualifying.
Keep an eye out for Team USA. They're about to come across the start-finish line, so as Jonathan Somerton begins. And here he
That's
comes.
better from South Africa. South Africa third, USA fourth. So Adrian Zaug certainly found something on the lap. Canada go 10th. New Zealand, where's New Zealand going to be this time? Black Beauty about to cross the line. Up in the top, down in 11th place.
Switzerland, Niliani.
6th this time.
6th position, Portugal 7th.
So Great Britain take provisional pole, and India up front with them, and South Africa. Now that was in a way the big change there, because South Africa was 7th in qualifying for the sprint race on the used tyre, the older tyre. They've done a good job and they've gone third quickest here, but the fastest time there for Great Britain, a 15.0, and that is some over half a second slower than he was in qualifying for the sprint race, and that is explained by the fact they were all on their older set of tyres there. They didn't have a new set of tyres to use for that session, so that means that they have to now go back to the pits, get the new tyres fitted for the final session, and then see if they can't improve on those times.
I just wonder how seriously some of the nations took this session of qualifying, because they're going to hold back that final set of new tyres for the 4th segment of qualifying. The relevant time, of course, Team GBR, they got that advantage by 0.073 of a second over Narain Karthikeyan for India. And then a run we've not seen really South Africa in the top 3 at any point over the 2 days. Adrian Zaug pops it up to P3, but whether he can do that in this final qualifying segment when he ought to have a brand new set of tyres, and that might have been a new tyre run, we couldn't check that cars that came out of the pit lane. If that was a new tyre time, it is not going to be good enough.
No, I wonder if Pakistan used a new tyre. They've gone up a bit from where they were. They were 14th on the grid. Let's just take a look at this provisionally for the feature race with another session to go. It's Great Britain and India up the top. Then Zaug for South Africa, Jonathan Somerton of the USA, Ireland, Switzerland and Portugal following close behind. Then France, the Netherlands, the Czech Republic, Canada behind Germany in the top 12. Then New Zealand all the way down in 13th again. Pakistan, Italy, China, then Brazil, then Indonesia, Lebanon, Australia, who backed off, then Malaysia and Mexico completing the provisional lineup.
We have James Goodfellow with us, Robbie Kerr's engineer. Tell us how the car is at the moment.
The car balance seems to be quite good for Robbie. It's obviously a very good track for Robbie, this one. He seems quite happy at the moment on new and used tyres. So, yeah, we're looking good for pole position for the feature as well as the sprint at the moment.
Nervous moments, of course. Yesterday you had shock absorber problems, spring problems, and you spent a lot of time working on this car.
Yeah, we did identify some small issues yesterday, but we sorted them in the practice session rather than wasting laps on the tyres, and we knew we had it sorted for today, so we were quite confident.
Now you're going for the double pole position, you're going for the double victory, which hasn't been done here at home. Do you think that's on, James?
And we're going for the double fastest laps as well. Yes, it's all on, definitely.
Now, you're very much the quiet man behind this team, and you're working very, very well with Robbie Kerr. How's that relationship working out technically?
Rob is a really great guy to work with. His feedback is fantastic. His attitude in the car is great. And that applies to the whole team. It's a really strong team we've got here.
All the best. Thank you for talking to us when you're so busy. Thank you, James. That was...
That's right, but they've got it back to the pits now, back into their box, and we shall see if Neil Yarney is going to wait quite a while. I should think he will before he comes out, and we've got a few seconds yet before the final segment of qualifying gets underway, and there's a man who needs to perform in this one. It is Frankie Cheng. We're about to see the start of the final qualifying segment here at Brands Hatch. We've got beautiful sunshine, quite warm conditions, and we've got a fantastic battle in prospect for pole. Robbie Kerr has taken pole for Great Britain for the sprint race. He's on provisional pole for the feature race as well. But India, South Africa, Switzerland in particular, maybe Ireland as well, and most notably Team USA could well challenge him for that pole position.
Well, it's going to be exciting because pretty much everybody at the front will have a fresh set of tyres.
Let's get down to the pits, get some news from Team Switzerland with Lee.
Concern here in Switzerland.
Right, thanks for that, Lee. Yes, it wasn't just a scrutineering issue, and actually we can listen in to some of the radio communication that's been going on there at Team Switzerland. You said there was a problem. Let's see if they were talking about it.
A lot of oversteers, a lot of snaps at the quick corner. Lost my rear turn 7, lost my rear turn 8 and turn 9. All the same.
So in fact there he was talking about the handling of the car. Now, is that just down to the tyres, John? Because he was on a used set of tyres for that run, and it was talking about the last part of the lap as well.
Yes, I mean, it shouldn't be the tyres. The tyres would have done a run, a second sprint qualifying, so the tyres are as fresh as they could be, other than coming out of the mould. But round turn 7, that's the climb into Sheen curve. It's a big commitment. Turn 8 to Sterling's corner. I don't know why that should be a problem. Final corner, Clark onto the start-finish straight. There you have to give it a big commitment, let the car run out wide. I suspect they've just found that the way that the front and rear tyre are interacting with such a short chance to get them up to temperature is that the front's working slightly better than the rear, and maybe he needs to be a little bit harder on his outlap to try and get the equality of temperatures front to rear. It might be even something as small as maybe just the adjustment of tyre pressures, which of course again is so sensitive when you've got a slick racing tyre.
Well, there's lots to do here this weekend for those fans who perhaps want to go and have a little play. There's the fun fair up behind the grandstands and the hospitality area as well. So it really is a family day out at Brands Hatch this weekend, and in these conditions it's a fantastic place to be here in Kent for what should promise to be not just a fantastic qualifying session but also superb races and the championship decision to be made with Switzerland and New Zealand. You have to say it swung very much towards the favour of Switzerland looking at what's happening in qualifying so far. Switzerland with the edge in the first session for the sprint race, qualifying 3rd, New Zealand all the way down in 10th, and we'll see where they sort themselves out for the feature race in a few moments. The clock is ticking away, by the way, as you can see, top left-hand corner of the screen. Just around 12 minutes to go.
Well, there's certainly somebody on track at the minute as we look into the Czech garage, and well, it's a question now of when are you going to go out, and the key to qualifying is to get the car, the balance of the car, particularly the 2 tyres at the front, the 2 tyres at the back. You've got to get them equally pressured and equally temperature, otherwise the imbalance, that's what we heard Neil Yanni talking about. I suspect it's more about tyre temperature and tyre pressure than it is about the car.
Yes, and Adrian Zaukir made a good improvement in that last segment of qualifying, up to 3rd, which, as I say, that's bounced him up to where we would normally expect him to be in qualifying, and hadn't really been showing that kind of pace until now. But the question is, can they repeat that on the new tyre when he comes out in the final segment? First sprint race qualifying, yep, he's in 7th place, which is reasonable, but he'll be looking to try and improve on that if possible.
Yeah, I mean, he sort of matched his best time in the second segment of qualifying, where he's going to start in the 4th row of the grid, 7th place, within a 10th of a second. But that's not going to be quick enough. I mean, I'm sure that there will be enough teams holding back that final new set of tyres. As we look inside the Brazil car now, jump to Mexico. But really, in set 4, so Mexico have got that fresh set of tyres available to them, and they look like they might be the first car with just 10 minutes and 45 seconds of the session remaining, coming down the pit lane.
Yep, here we go then. David Martinez is going to get this session underway, and with just around 10.5 minutes to go, he's decided, or the team has decided, to send him on his way, get him some good clear track. And the 26-year-old who comes from Monterrey in Mexico, he's raced champ cars in the past. Last year he raced champ cars, and in fact did the last champ car race held at Long Beach a couple of weeks ago as well. And as I say, he's raced briefly in A1 before. He raced at Laguna Seca in that first season of A1GP. Very difficult conditions there. It was very wet, of course. Actually came home with a pretty good 8th place in the sprint race there. So Mexico showing a good performance. But in fact, no, that was Lausitzring, wasn't it? Yes, it was Lausitzring he was at. It was Duran who was at Laguna Seca. Let's go down to the pits though and hear from the seat holder of the team that is become the most recent winner in A1GP. That's Team USA.
Rick, a fantastic victory for Team USA at the last event. A front row start before and a front row start already. Can you get your first pole position?
Boy, we're sure going to shoot for it, Simon. I'm feeling really, really good. The team is really coming together unbelievably. We couldn't be more happy, and we're already thinking, although we're not thinking past Sunday, but we're already thinking for next season with Ferrari. So we are psyched.
And what's the reaction been like in the States to the victory?
You know, they love it. They love it. We're still trying to get traction in the United States because, as everybody realizes, the United States has a lot of opportunity, and they have a lot of choices. But you know what? We're getting traction, and we're raising up, so that's good.
Thanks, Rick. Great to see you again.
Nice to see you, Simon.
Well, I just talking about Rick talking about traction, different forms of use of language. And I tell you, traction, I'm sure, is something Jonathan Summerton would like when he comes up to the conclusion of his one and only flying lap in this final segment of qualifying. But basically what Rick Vining is saying is that, you know, motor racing in general in the States and single-seater racing in particular has been a little bit in the back foot, but A1GP having an American driver winning overseas can only be good for the interest in single-seater racing in North America.
Riding on board briefly with David Martinez then as he gets to grips once again with the car and with this wonderful track. Now then, let's just watch the onboard data, gear and speed and engine revs and throttle position, brake position to watch for as well.
You know, when you see the speed on the graphics, you realise, in fact, that the entry speed into Hawthorne is nowhere near as quick as it actually feels when you're driving. It still feels pretty quick.
That's right, it always feels fast. You're going uphill on the approach to it as well, braking down a gear, third gear used through the left-hander, and then hard on the power. No lifting off, of course, when you change up in the A1 car. It's all done on the paddle shift, no lifting off the throttle. And here we are through that final corner once again, using all 520 horsepower to drag him across the line, and it's the first time of this session at a 1:17.0, and that's a good improvement on his previous best.
Yeah, that's about 0.4 of a second up on his best from the second sprint qualifying. So he's made progress. It's not an easy task. I mean, it's not going to see him on the pole position, but it's got him provisionally up to 18th place, the 9th row of the grid. So the team in Mexico, Les there on the pit wall looking at Les Jones looking after the Mexico operation. Again, Robbie just stretching the neck out, just making sure he's got total freedom of movement. And those famous eyebrows that when he's under stress, they start to, you know, they flick up and down. And just one of those little idiosyncrasies that different people do different things when they're under stress.
Now, John Martin did pretty well in sprint race qualifying. Got the Australian car, Jackaroo, up into 12th place. Which is an improvement on where he'd been running in the earlier sessions and in practice in particular. So now, can he do that again? Currently, though, he's down in 21st because he backed off on his last lap. He got stuck in traffic, so they've sent him out early this time to make sure it won't happen again.
Yeah, he's got to beat a 1 minute 15.3. That was his best run in the second segment of qualifying. So he's all the way down in 1:17.2, and as you say, that was pretty much waved off as we just glimpse inside the eyes and the helmet. Pit lane Solaquada for the Czech Republic now making his way out. Just over 6.5 minutes of the session to go, and I think for those runners that are not going to attack the pole, why not go out now? And even Narain Karthikeyan, I suspect, will come out with maybe more than 3 minutes of the session remaining.
Yep, we may well see that. He tends to come out a little earlier than some, and he's currently second, remember, provisionally second for this feature race. There's Adrian Zhao getting psyched up, ready for his final run of the day. We're into the real last gasp now of qualifying here at Brands Hatch. It's Adam Khan who is next to go for Pakistan.
Yes, and John Martin for Australia just comes across the start-finish line, and that's distraction. We look at Robbie Kerr, and that will be a disappointment for Australia because that car of Pakistan, no problem, nothing intended, but just cars come out and the car on a flying lap. That's the lottery of qualifying. You pay the penalty of going either early, more likely you'll pay it if you go late.
So uses the curb on the exit there. Watch John Martin here, the likeable Aussie. He's got a great attitude to everything involved in motorsport. He attacks all the time, usually got with a big smile on his face no matter what's going on, and a popular member of the paddock, but he's got to deliver here. He's 12th on the grid for the sprint race, and Australia would love to finish the season on a high, finish this last ever event using these particular cars and engines with a strong performance.
Yeah, you can certainly hear he is well and truly on the throttle through Hawthorne's. Nice clean exit out of Westfield Bend, now the drop and the climb. This is where he got caught out this morning. He doesn't want to do it again in this final qualifying. Does a nice exit out of Sheen curve then, finally through Stirling for the last time before he gets into his car for a race on Sunday.
Yeah, but the sector times are not showing this is going to be anything spectacular for Australia. Let's see where it puts him. It'll certainly move him up from where he is because he's all the way down in 21st, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough to put him right up there in the top 10. Cross the line, no, 16th only, and I think there might be a few others behind him that can improve potentially, so it's not as good a run as he had earlier on.
No, he picked up about a second, but that's nowhere near enough. He needed to be in the low 15s if he wanted to be somewhere in the top 6, maybe top 8. Philippe Salaquada for the Czech Republic runs, just about brought the car back, drew it away from the curbs, and it looks like the car's slightly pointy the way it was weaving and wandering coming down through Dingledale and up into Sheen Curve.
Interesting driver, Salaquada. He looks like one of those drivers who perhaps just needs a bit of time in the car and then really can deliver. It's been improving and improving all the time since he's been in the car the last couple of events, and he might not be one of those who can immediately adapt, but he learns every time he goes out. Let's see what the lap's like. Cross the line he goes, up to 9th on a 1:15, is it?
1:15.6, so it's fractionally quicker. It's about a tenth of a second quicker than his previous best, so he consolidates himself in 9th place.
Not quite as quick as he did earlier on for the sprint race. Now, are we seeing times a little slower? It is perhaps a touch warmer than it was when we were seeing the cars out there for the sprint race, but I don't think it's going to have made much difference to track temperature.
No, I think that it's just a question of, there will be changes, the track does change, it's a constantly moving situation, so it's a matter of fine adjustments, but in reality I think conditions are about as good as they're going to be at any point through these 4 segments of qualifying.
On board with Pakistan, looking through the front wing as he comes around to complete the lap. Where's this going to put Adam on the grid? Well, it's a 14th place, he holds 14th. That was a fraction quicker than he had last time, and that's a better effort from Adam Khan if they can hold on to that, but there will be a few behind that might still improve.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing, the runners that have come out and run early may well have been those that have ran their new set of tyres in the first of these 2 final segments of qualifying, and that's what you're seeing. They're just marginally improving, there's no significant change, but there will be those that will come out, and those are going to be times like GB, India, certainly you think Switzerland and Ireland, and of course the USA.
Team France on the way once again, a team that has taken a pole position this year, but that was with Loic Duval at the wheel of the car. They've had 1 victory so far, again with Duval, but he's not available this weekend, so it is once again Franck Montagny, the 30-year-old who's had experience in Formula 1, and both as a racer and as a test driver. And now look at it, it's getting busy again as they all begin to come out of their pit boxes and set up for the grand finale of qualifying here. What about Switzerland? Can Neil Yarni go out on a high? We know that he challenged Great Britain in the first segment of qualifying, but he's 3rd on the sprint race grid. Let's see what he can do here.
He's got traffic ahead of him, and he'll not want to get involved in that, and he's also come out slightly earlier than we've seen him do. He's just made his way past Indonesia. He's now running up to the tail of the China car, and he'll either want to get past that car, and I don't know whether Frankie Cheng's going to be very cooperative as we look into the pits with Portugal, the last car once again. So Switzerland, as they go along what was used to be bottom straight, has slowed right up, but he's now got traffic building up, Indonesia building up behind him.
So it's that last lap dash once again in qualifying. New Zealand very late out onto the circuit as well, and they've got to try and pull something out of the bag here. Things are not looking good for New Zealand. I'm surprised that Johnny's only 10th on the grid for the sprint race, because this morning he showed really good pace, but he just couldn't quite string it together on the new tyres in qualifying. He does not know this track nearly as well as some of his big rivals, so he's having to play catch up. Now here we go, Franck Montagny for France. Can he use that Formula 1 experience, that extensive wealth of knowledge that he has, to extract a special time here, which is what France need in the battle to hold on to 3rd in the points?
Well, there's going to be this battle all the way through the field, and riding on board, Franck Montagny brings the car in, makes a nice entrance, a good exit out of Surtees, and so Pierre Drio having a look and seeing something that distracts him. He looks up, but there's not a problem. The only problem is that Canada is ahead of the French car, and that may well come into play as a car again ahead of the Canadian car. So whether Franck Montagny catches up to the Canadian car as it hops, skips and it jumps on the exit of Westfield, he does not want to catch the back of the Canada car as he makes the run down into Clearways, or what is now known as Clark Curve.
Yeah, this is not good timing. He is going to catch that Canada car a little bit, and of course the Canada car building up onto a lap. They know what's going on.
2 cars side by side, I mean, absolutely destroys France's chances of making any significant improvement. And of course this is the lottery of going out and qualifying, when everybody hangs back to the last possible moment and everybody loses out.
So not great for
third,
France.
but they go third on a 15.2, a half a second almost of an improvement.
Yeah, it's an improvement, but I think we're still going to see some cars like perhaps Ireland in the 14s in this session. We saw several cars in the 1 minute 14s in that sprint race qualifying. Let's see if Ireland can do it. He's up on the time, certainly, of Great Britain from the third segment of qualifying. And here we go. We're going to have that rush to the flag again. It's a bit of a lottery. Let's see what happens. Germany go quickest for a moment, but for how long? Ireland across the line. Ireland go quickest on a 15.0. Still not in the 1 minute 14s. Now, who's next? China. Could expect something from China. Can they drag something out? No, 7th. Only 7th for Frankie Cheng. And now it's Switzerland. Switzerland's chance. Can they get on the front row? Yes, he takes provisional pole.
1:14.957, and literally cars India 1:14.682.
And here comes Robbie Kerr. Robbie Kerr across the line. No!
Second.
He's second. He's been beaten by Narain Khan of India.
USA is yet to come.
Malaysia about to cross the line. Faraz Fawzi, he crosses the line and he's 12th. But as you say, we're still waiting for the United States. South Africa crosses the line. 7th place for Adrian Zhao. Portugal, no, 11th for Portugal. Canada down in 13th place. USA only 9th. And New Zealand down in 17th. India has taken their first ever pole position in A1GP history. Winners in Dubai earlier on this season, and Great Britain are denied the double pole position by Narain Karthikeyan, one of the biggest fans of Brands Hatch. He loves this place, and he has come through for his first pole. And the difference between them, 0.2 of a second, quite a big gap, quite a surprising gap in the end for Team India. Any chance? And
welcome back to Brands Hatch. Qualifying action is over for the day. The starting positions for race day are decided. The sprint race grid determined by sessions 1 and 2 looks like this, with Robbie Kerr having won the sprint here last year, second in the feature, and he has pole in the sprint for race day tomorrow. The USA in second, Switzerland the leaders in third, Ireland recording a 4th start, and for New Zealand, other title contenders, they're in 10th. As for the feature race then, that looks like this. India's Narain Karthikeyan with his first ever pole in A1GP for Team India. For GBR, they were denied that double pole. They start in second. Switzerland, the leaders again, have third. Okay, let's get reaction then from Andy Prio to what was an electric qualifying session. Robbie Kerr, we expected to do well out there, but India's Narain Karthikeyan?
I know Robbie's going to be a little bit disappointed in the qualifying 4. He went over half a second slower than he did in the qualifying 2. Narain stole it at the end. He looked very fast. I had my eye on him the whole session, and he went out late and did the job, which was superb to see. An old friend of mine and sparring partner from Formula 3.
Yeah, good performance from Karthikeyan. Also, of course, from Robbie Kerr. Let's get the latest with Tony Jardine.
Here we are with Robbie Kerr. Nearly got the pole a second time. Pole for the sprint. Fantastic performance by Team GBR.
No, it's a great result. Unfortunately, we were 1 short of where we wanted to be for the feature race, but I'm sure we can make it up in the race. We know we've got plenty of race pace over the other guys, comparing the times this morning, and so looking forward to it. But no, great job by the guys.
So the double is on, isn't it?
Well, let's just take one step at a time and make sure we finish the sprint race and then go for the feature.
Quick word for the boys as well, Robbie. A lot of work went into that car yesterday and today. Springs, dampers. You happy with it now?
I wasn't happy completely in the final running qualifying, but we're not far away.
And a lot of waiting before you could go out. You must have been nerve-wracking sitting in the car waiting.
It's not too bad. It's just got to wait your time and pick your moment. And the guys, unfortunately, we didn't get it right on the first time out, but every other time after that, it was good.
A lot riding on it. Big double home win in prospect for you. What does it mean to you coming back to Brands and doing this?
It's great being back at Brands Hatch. I think it's a fantastic circuit. Anybody who's ever driven here loves the place, and it's one of the classic circuits, isn't it? Just look out the back, going in between the trees. It's awesome.
Robbie, thanks very much. Congratulations. Well done.
Cheers.
6 pole starts in the series now for Robbie Kerr. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more reaction to today's qualifying, and we take a closer look at the 2 teams in contention for the title.
To be the best in A1GP, you definitely need to handle oversteer, as you are always sideways with this car, and just be always prepared for things you can't see will happen, because A1GP is very unpredictable, and how you cope just with these unpredictable situations.
To be the best in A1GP, you need to be a smooth driver, as smooth as fast, and aggressive, be able to pass, and be strong-minded.
Welcome back to Brands Hatch on pole for race day, Team GBR in the sprint, India in the feature. Great drives from Robbie Kerr and Narayan Karthikeyan. Now for Switzerland, who could have taken the title in Shanghai, the pressure really is on to secure it here and be crowned finally A1GP champions. We caught up with the team ahead of race day.
Pretty confident, 29 points lead. Johnny needs really to win both races, and I need to really have a lot of bad luck. We still know it's possible, but I'm sure we can, or I'm pretty sure we should bring it over the line. Well, I felt it already in the first 2-3 laps that something is wrong, but then just after the first pit stop in lap 9, I just felt, oh no, it's gone now.
Here it's gone! Drive without second, drive without second.
But then I could keep second position pretty easy at that time. But I knew during the pit stops I will lose more time because the guys staying out, they will just overtake me then. And so it happened. So I just tried to finish best points possible. And I was 5th position, and well, made it more interesting to have it the decision in the last race weekend. If I wouldn't have lost the second gear, it would have happened, but the if and would and coulds don't exist in sports or generally in the world. So, we didn't do it, so we have to do it this weekend. The main target is to get the pole position in the sprint and just finish it off with a victory in the sprint race. I mean, that would be the nicest way, and that's what our target is, definitely. I think this year through the point system, it has been wide open longer, and also, by the 3rd season, everybody has slowly figured out the car. And some drivers have driven all the tracks, so they also figured out the tracks. And this year also there's many drivers which have some credibility, such as like Frank Montani being a previous F1 driver, or other drivers came into the series and were struggling, which just showed that the series has a pretty high level in racing this year. By end of the year, I decided I want to go 100% for A1 and to try and get that title, and that's when we decided that we go for that, and that brought consistency in our team and definitely helped us. And to be champion, that would be definitely one goal fulfilled in my so far career.
So if the title is Switzerland's to lose, it's New Zealand's to fight for. While the second place team sit 29 points off the pace heading into race day, there's still a chance they could steal it. Here are their thoughts ahead of tomorrow.
It's not sort of do or die, we're just going to go out there and do what we normally do, and that's qualify well and win a couple of races. And if we hit our target, that'll be maximum points, which is 32. So yeah, it is possible to leapfrog Switzerland this weekend. We need to be strong in every session, really. Give myself a little bit of practice time, but every session that counts, which is qualifying and both races, we need to be right on our game. Pit stops need to be like they were at Shanghai. And everyone in A1 Team New Zealand is very positive minded about this weekend. We've worked so hard to be second in the championship so far, and to take the win overall would be a dream come true for all of us. So we're really pushing for that this weekend. Look back, and there are areas where we could have done a better job all round, and but that's sport, and we've had our fair share of bad luck as well. It's been an emotional rollercoaster ride, really, for both myself, the team. It's really been a hard-fought battle between Switzerland and New Zealand. France has been there as well, very, very close, but we just had a bit of a bad run in Durban, which cost us a lot.
Oh dear, it's a disaster again for New Zealand.
A few bad pit stops, and an error in the sprint race by me, and there's been a little bit of misfortune in Australia as well when we didn't get restarted. But again, that's sport. You've got to take it on the chin and look forward, and it's not over yet, so I'm definitely staying positive and looking towards my goal. I've been racing karts since I was about 8 years old, and to represent your country in any sport, and that's a dream itself. So to win it for me, and also under the New Zealand banner, for me that would just be the ultimate dream.
Let's just tally up those race wins then. Well, you can't really split them. Both have 4 this season. Switzerland has the edge where podium finishes are concerned. Both finished in the top 10 15 times. Switzerland has, though, recorded more pole starts and fastest lap times. Switzerland has been the most consistent performer, though, heading into Brands. They've led the championship for the last 3 race weekends. And Andy, your reaction really to that? Switzerland have the momentum, don't they, going into Brands?
They do. I mean, quite simply, their bad races have been better than New Zealand's. And, Neil Yarni's had a very consistent year. He's been very, very strong. And the most important thing is to win a championship, you've got to be the strongest at the end. And today's qualifying to be third in both qualifying sessions, he's definitely riding on a high.
Yeah, from what you've seen in qualifying over the course of the afternoon, is the title now Switzerland's to lose, really, as opposed to New Zealand's to win?
Absolutely. They need a lot of bad luck to lose this. Team New Zealand have had a terrible qualifying session, been very disappointed, and I think they're in jeopardy of losing second position in the championship. Robbie's very, very strong, and Frank Montagny in Team France put in a good qualifying lap, so he's got a lot of work to do, Johnny Reid, tomorrow.
Where Johnny Reid's concerned, though, with regards to his approach and his strategy, is it do or die for him out there? He's got nothing to lose now, has he? Whereas Neil Yarni will have to take, presumably, a more sensible and measured approach.
I think you're probably right. I mean, Johnny's going to have to do something very desperate to try and win the championship. But Neil Yarni is relaxed. You can see in his interviews, he's calm. He's qualified well. He has really done the job, if you ask me. Johnny Reid's got to do something exceptionally special tomorrow to win this championship.
With regards to Robbie, great out there today. Home support's turned out as we expect they will do for race day. How much can that count when a driver needs to get the backing of his home crowd?
Yeah, Robbie's, I think the home crowd's a good thing and a bad thing sometimes, because you've got more to do, more interviews. It can be draining, but
there's pressure.
There's pressure. Robbie wants to finish the season on a high note. He has always been quick around here, so his expectations and the team's expectations are very, very high. He has done the job today, and tomorrow he'll be a racer and do what he can.
Narayan Karthikeyan, certainly something of a shock that he managed to steal pole in the feature race from Robbie Kerr. How strong a contender can he realistically be during a course of a race?
Narayan has always been quick, but he does sometimes make mistakes. He's quite inconsistent. But I watched him in qualifying 1 and 2, and he went out early. The track wasn't at its best, and at the end in qualifying 4, he did do the pole time right at the end of the session. He looked fast all the way through the sessions today. But with Narayan, you always have to expect the unexpected.
Quick word on Team Ireland, because Adam Carroll did well. Fourth in the sprint, 4th in the feature. They've got to be happy with that, aren't they?
They have, and Adam's a good racer. Obviously, there is a war between them and GBR at the moment, so GBR have got the upper hand. But tomorrow's a new day. If the forecast is changeable, anything can happen, and as we've seen in A1GP with the pit stops, things can happen, and they could get a really good result tomorrow. They've done a good job.
We shall see. Andy, thanks very much for joining me throughout qualifying. Andy will be here tomorrow. We are all set for race day from Brands. Our coverage getting underway tomorrow from 1 p.m. with a sprint race, followed by live and uninterrupted coverage of the feature race on Sky Sports 3. Before that, action from the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Crown Royal presents the Dan Lowry 400 live from Richmond, Virginia from midnight, Sky Sports 2. Switzerland have the title in their sights, but it's GBR and India who'll be the teams to beat tomorrow. Join us for race day. More sport, news and views at skysports.com.